Cain moved through the silent ruins of the alien village, the smoke rising slowly in the cold air. He was a human soldier on patrol. But even he felt something strange here. The place was destroyed only hours ago. Buildings crushed, walls burned, and the ground still warm from blasts. Nothing should be alive now, not after the attack that hit this place. That is why his heart almost stopped when he heard a soft whisper behind him, a voice that did not match the silence around him. "Follow me." The voice said, weak and broken. Cain turned fast, weapon raised. His eyes searched the ruins, but he saw no one, just dust and shadows. He waited, listening hard. The voice came again, even softer this time, like someone who did not have strength to breathe. "Please. Follow." Cain followed the sound, stepping over rubble and broken metal. His boots pushed through blue dust, the color only alien blood could make when it dried. He felt something heavy in his chest. This was not normal. This was not safe. But something in that voice pulled him forward. He could not leave it behind, even if it was a trap. He found a trail of blue blood on the cracked road. It was thin at first, then thicker. As if someone had been dragged, Cain followed the trail until it disappeared under a fallen stone pillar. He placed his weapon aside, pushed the heavy stone with all his strength, and froze. Under the pillar lay a young alien girl, no older than 20 in human age. Her skin was pale silver, her hair long and tangled, and her royal crest on her forehead was cracked. She had been crushed under the weight, and her breathing was weak and slow, like she was only moments away from death. Her eyes opened when she felt the light, glowing faintly like stars behind fog. "You heard me," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You actually came." Cain knelt beside her, checking her wounds. Her ribs looked broken, her clothes burned and torn, and she was bleeding from several places. "Stay still," he said gently. "Who did this to you?" She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. She looked terrified, like the truth itself might kill her. Cain leaned closer, so she did not have to push her voice. "My people," she whispered. "They left me here to die. Because I refused the marriage they forced on me." Cain's chest tightened. A princess left for dead by her own kingdom. He had heard of alien royalty being strict, but never this brutal. He lifted the broken stone from her body and slid his arms under her. Her body was cold and trembling. "No," she said quickly, fear rising in her eyes. "You should not help me. The hunters will come back if they see you with me. They will kill you too." Cain looked around the ruins. His mission was to scout only, not to interfere, not to save strangers, not to rescue alien royalty. But leaving her here would be the same as killing her. And he could not do that, not after seeing the fear in her eyes. "I am not leaving you," Cain said firmly. "Whatever happens, we face it together." She stared at him with shock, like she could not understand why a human would protect someone like her. Her fingers touched his armor weakly, her voice barely air. "Why?" she whispered. "Humans don't risk their lives for broken royalty." Before Cain could answer, he heard footsteps, heavy and sharp. Coming from the distance, the princess's eyes widened with fear. "They are back," she whispered. "Hide me." "Please." Cain acted fast. He lifted her into his arms and moved behind a fallen transport vehicle. The footsteps grew louder, shadows stretching long across the ground. Cain held his breath, holding her close as she trembled. The hunters stopped near the place she was found. Scanning the ruins with cold metal eyes, the princess buried her face against Cain's chest. Shaking in fear, Cain covered her with parts of his cloak, trying to hide the glow of her skin. One step, then another. The hunters moved closer. Their weapons hummed softly as they scanned the air. Cain's heartbeat grew louder in his ears. He knew one mistake would get them both killed. He waited, unmoving, until the hunters finally turned away and walked deeper into the ruins. The princess looked up at him, breathing fast. "You should have run," she whispered. "Why didn't you?" Cain held her a little tighter as he prepared to move, his eyes steady, his voice calm. "Because you asked me to follow," he said. "And I did." She stared at him like she did not know whether to fear him or trust him, but she whispered one last thing before she passed out in his arms. "Don't leave me." Cain looked at her unconscious face and nodded once, even though she could not hear him. "I won't," he whispered back, and then carried her into the ruins, not knowing the danger that waited ahead. Cain carried the unconscious princess through the broken streets of the ruined village with the heavy night sky pressing down like a silent warning. The hunters were still close, and their metal footsteps echoed around the ruins like ghosts. Cain knew he did not have much time. The princess's breathing grew weaker with every passing moment, and he felt her body turning colder against his armor. He needed shelter. He needed a place where scanners could not reach them. He remembered an old underground bunker used long ago during the First War between humans and the alien kingdoms. It was hidden under collapsed buildings and almost forgotten. If they were lucky, it might still be intact. Cain moved carefully, slipping between shadows and broken walls. He knew even one sound could bring the hunters. He kept the princess close to his chest, and her faint glow was the only light guiding him. Her silver skin shimmered softly, and for a moment, Cain wondered how much pain she was hiding behind her calm face. He reached the half-destroyed bunker entrance. It was covered by fallen metal sheets and thick dust. Cain pushed the debris aside, using every bit of strength he had, and finally, a narrow path opened to the dark interior. He stepped inside, and the old metal door closed behind them, sealing them in silence. The bunker smelled like rust and old memories. There were cracked screens on the walls, long dead lights, and dusty storage crates. Cain laid the princess gently on an old mattress that still had some shape. She looked too fragile, like a breath of wind could break her again. Minutes passed before she finally moved. Her eyes opened slowly, her bright glow sending soft waves of light across the bunker. She stared at him with confusion and fear before whispering. "Where are we?" Cain kept his voice low. "Old bunker, no scanners, no patrols. We are safe for now." The princess tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Her broken ribs protested, and she leaned back, breathing hard. Cain helped her sit more gently, and she gave him a small nod of thanks. Her glowing eyes scanned the bunker with unease. "You should have left me," she said quietly. Her voice carried sadness, not anger. "My people want me dead. The hunters do not stop until they finish their orders. They will kill you too." Cain shook his head. "You needed help. I could not walk away." She stared at him like she was studying him, like she was trying to understand something important. Her fingers touched the cracked crest on her forehead, and she whispered something in her own language, a sound full of pain and betrayal. Suddenly her body gave a sharp jerk. Cain leaned forward, thinking she was falling unconscious again. But then it happened. Her skin started glowing brighter, not soft and faint like before, but strong and pulsing. Like light trapped inside her was trying to escape. Her hands shook as she grabbed Cain's wrist. Dante touched the glow. Her voice trembled. "If it reaches you, it could," but she was too late. The light spread across her arm, and Cain felt it enter his hand like a warm current moving under his skin. It did not burn, it did not hurt, but he felt something strange awaken inside him, something powerful and unfamiliar. The princess gasped in shock. "It reacted to you," she whispered, "but why? You are human. You should not be able to hold my energy." Cain flexed his fingers, feeling the faint warmth still running under his skin. He did not understand it, but he also did not fear it. Whatever this energy was, it connected them for a moment. She pulled her hand back, trembling. The glow slowly faded, leaving her weak and exhausted again. Cain gave her water from his pack, and she drank with small, careful sips. "They will come here," she said finally. "The hunters, they have ships and scanners. They will find this place." To Cain listened to the distant silence above them. He could imagine the hunters moving across the ruins, searching for any sign of escape, searching for the princess who refused the marriage her people forced on her. "Why did you refuse?" Cain asked softly. She closed her eyes because the marriage was not a choice, it was a cage. They wanted my power to stay under their control, and when I said no, they called me a traitor. Cain felt his chest tighten at her words, a princess hunted by her own world, a girl punished for simply choosing freedom. He reached out and placed a hand near hers, not touching but close enough for comfort. Her eyes opened and she looked at him in surprise. As long as I am here, Cain said, you are not alone. But before she could answer, a loud rumbling noise shook the bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling. The ground vibrated like a giant shadow had landed above them. The princess's eyes widened in fear, and she whispered only 2 words, "They found us." The ground shook again, and Cain felt the vibration through the metal floor of the bunker. The princess pushed herself up weakly, fear spreading across her face. Her glow dimmed as her body reacted to the danger outside. Cain moved to the entrance hatch and pressed his ear against it. The rumbling above grew louder, heavier, like something massive had landed on the ruins. "They are here," the princess whispered. Her voice was small, but full of dread. "The hunters never come alone. They bring the fleet." Cain looked at her confused fleet. What kind of fleet would come for one wounded princess? She closed her eyes in pain. "They want to erase me. I refused the marriage. They want the crown to stay in the hands of the council. If I live, there is still hope for change." That scares them. Cain felt a spark of anger in his chest. A girl hunted by her own leaders because she wanted freedom. It was cruel. It was wrong. He moved to a cracked window on the side of the bunker and pushed away dust and old wires to peek outside. He saw darkness. Then a bright beam of light swept across the ruins. Searching the huge shadow above was not a ship. It was many ships, one after another, blocking the sky like black wings. The sound of engines echoed like thunder, vibrating the air. Cain had seen alien war fleets before, but nothing like this. This was a hunting fleet, a fleet meant to find and end one life. The princess struggled to stand. Her legs trembled. And she grabbed the edge of the bed. She stared at the ceiling with terror in her glowing eyes. "They brought the royal hunters. These are the strongest soldiers in my kingdom. Even your human armies fear them." Cain stepped back from the window. "We can't stay here. They will break into every shelter, every ruin, every tunnel." She nodded weakly. "Yes. They will not stop. They will destroy everything until they find me." Cain grabbed his weapon and checked his pack. His hand tingled again where her energy had entered him earlier. It felt strange, warmer than normal, as if something inside him was awake and watching. He ignored it and focused on their escape. "We move now," Cain said. He lifted her gently. She tried to stand on her own, but her body was too weak. He carried her out of the bunker entrance. And the night air hit them with cold wind. The sky was filled with hunter ships glowing with red lines and sharp metal wings. They moved like predators, circling prey. The princess held onto Cain's armor, her breath shaky. "They will scan this area first." The energy burst from earlier will guide them. That burst, Cain asked. "You mean when your body glowed and the bunker shook?" She nodded. "It happens when my life is in danger. My bloodline carries old power, but I cannot control it." "Not yet." Cain looked at her, surprised. Old power. She was not just a princess. She was something more. Something ancient, something the council feared enough to send a fleet. A loud metallic cry echoed across the sky. The hunters had deployed scanner drones. Drones flew between the ships, then spread out across the ruins, glowing blue and scanning everything. Cain felt urgency rise in his chest. "We go now." He moved through collapsed streets, staying close to shadows. He carried her tightly, feeling her breath against his shoulder. Her eyes scanned the sky nervously. One drone flew low above them, its glow bright like a star. Cain stopped breathing, pressed against a cracked wall. The drone hovered for a moment, then moved on the princess, let out a weak sigh of relief. But their luck did not last long. One drone rose behind them, its sensors locked on the faint glow of her skin. Cain heard the sharp, rising sound. The drone had detected them. He raised his weapon and shot the drone before it could call the others. The blast lit up the area. The princess's voice broke Cain. "They know now. They know exactly where we are." Cain grabbed her hand. "Come on, we run." They ran through the debris, but the ships above shifted direction. All of them, their lights pointed toward. Cain and the princess, like glowing eyes, hundreds of footsteps echoed from the far side of the ruins. The hunters were coming fast. Cain felt sweat on his back. This was worse than he imagined. The princess clung to him, her voice shaking. "This is my fault. You should have left me." Cain looked at her sharply. "Never say that you did nothing wrong," but her fear was rising. Her glow flickered like a dying flame. Cain knew she could not run longer. He spotted a collapsed tower with a hollow base. Maybe they could hide there for a few minutes. He carried her inside the dark space, but as they entered, the ground vibrated. Again the hunters were close to close. Cain heard their metal boots hitting stone like a countdown. The princess's eyes filled with hopeless fear. "Cain, it's over. They have us surrounded." Cain listened to the thunder of footsteps closing. In the walls shook, the air filled with a strange electric hum. But then something else happened. Something unexpected, something Cain could not explain. His arm, the one touched by her energy, began to glow softly, like her energy was waking inside him. The princess saw it, her eyes widening in shock. "That is impossible," she whispered. "Human bodies cannot hold royal energy." Cain stared at his glowing arm, unsure of what it meant. But one thing was clear: he was no longer normal. Outside, the hunter stopped and silence fell like a blade cutting the air. The fleet had found them, and Cain knew the real battle was about to begin. The silence outside the tower felt heavier than any loud explosion. Cain held his breath as the princess leaned against his chest, her glowing eyes fixed on the entrance. The hunters had stopped moving. Their sudden stillness made the air feel colder, as if the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Cain tried to listen for voices, footsteps, anything, but there was nothing, only the faint hum of the hunter fleet above and the slow, shaky breaths of the princess beside him. She looked pale, her silver skin duller than before. The energy inside her seemed unstable, like it was pulling her apart from the inside. "I cannot hold it anymore," she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. "My power wakes when I am dying. I cannot stop it. I cannot control it." Cain knelt beside her and placed a steady hand near her shoulder. "Tell me what is happening. What do I need to do?" She shook her head weakly. "Nothing. If it grows too strong, it will explode. It will kill everyone around me, maybe even you." Cain tightened his jaw, refusing to step back. He had seen her fight for every breath, for every moment of life. There was no way he would leave her now. Even if the bunker walls shook, even if the hunters closed in, he would not move away. The glow in her skin began spreading like waves of soft silver light. It started at her hands, then climbed her arms, then reached her chest. Her body arched as the energy pushed outward. The ground vibrated beneath them. The air crackled like lightning trapped inside stone. Outside, the hunters began moving again, but this time they did not rush in. They waited. Their metal voices whispered commands. Cain could not understand, but he recognized the tone. Fear. They were afraid of her. That alone told him she was more powerful than anyone had admitted. She clenched her teeth, tears sliding from her glowing eyes. "Cain, I cannot stop it. It is breaking out. If I lose control, everything around me will burn." Cain reached forward, both hands gripping her trembling shoulders. "Look at me," he said firmly. "Look at my eyes. Stay with me. Focus on my voice." She looked desperate, confused, scared. "My people said this power was a curse." She whispered. "They said I was born wrong." "You are not wrong," Cain said. "You are alive. You are fighting, and you are not alone." Her glow flickered like a candle fighting wind. Her breathing grew rough and fast. The energy burst inside her like a storm, trying to escape. Her fingers dug into his arms as the light grew brighter. Her whole body shook with pain. Then a deep roar echoed from above. A hunter commander spoke in a thunderous voice. "Bring her out alive, if possible, dead if she loses control." The princess stared at Cain, trembling uncontrollably. "They are waiting to see if I become a monster," she whispered. "If I do, they will kill us both." Cain moved closer, blocking the doorway with his body. "You stay right here with me. You hear me? I am not letting them touch you." Her glow surged again, brighter than before. The air around her shimmered like waves of heat. Cain felt the energy pushing him back, but he pushed forward, stubbornly staying close to her. She gasped. "You should not be near me. It will hurt you maybe," he said, "but I am still here." A sudden burst of energy erupted around her, the force blowing dust from the ground. The tower walls cracked and stones fell from above. The hunters outside stepped back in fear. Cain shielded her with his own body, ignoring the shock that ran through him. His arm lit up again, the energy inside him reacting to hers. She saw it, her eyes wide with disbelief. "No human should be able to touch royal energy," she whispered. "What are you?" Cain did not know. He only knew he was not leaving her. She was shaking too hard to stay upright, so he held her, supported her, kept her from collapsing as the light swirled in violent spirals. Around them, a shockwave burst outward, throwing stones across the ruins. The hunters were forced back, and the fleet lights flickered in the sky. Cain felt his heart pounding, but he stayed anchored beside her, his voice firm and steady. "Princess, listen to me. You are stronger than this. You can control it," she gasped. "For air fighting the wild power inside, I cannot, Cain. I am scared." "Then let me be your strength," Cain said, his arm glowing brighter than ever. "You are not alone in this. We fight together." Her glow steadied for a moment, then flared again, but this time it did not explode outward. Instead, it circled around her like a shield, forming patterns of ancient symbols in the air. Her eyes widened in wonder. "I have never seen this before," she whispered. Outside, the hunters panicked. One shouted for retreat. Others backed away from the tower. Now they feared what was waking inside the princess. Cain held her as she shook, her breath uneven, but stronger than before. Her power was no longer wild. It was listening to her. It was listening to him. There was a strange connection between them now, something deeper than anything either understood. She looked at Cain with fear, hope, and confusion mixed together. "What is happening to us?" Cain breathed slowly, steadying himself. The air still glowing around them. "Something new," he said. Something they never planned for. The hunters outside regrouped. The ground rumbled again. The next wave was coming, but this time Cain and the princess were no longer running. They were waking up together. The tower walls groaned under the pressure as the next wave of hunters advanced. Their heavy armored boots struck the broken ground like thunder. Cain tightened his hold on the princess. Her glow was shrinking, then rising, then shrinking again like a flickering star struggling to survive. The energy inside her still fought to break free, but now it seemed to listen to something else. Something connected to Cain. Her breathing was weak, but steadier than before. The light circling around her pulsed like a heartbeat. Cain felt warmth moving through his arm again, the same warmth he felt when her power touched him. For the first time, the connection between them was strange, but he did not have time to question it. The hunters had surrounded the tower. Their dark shapes moved closer, their weapons humming with deadly energy. She reached for his arm, her voice shaking. "Cain, I cannot let them take me. If they do, they will use my power to control the whole kingdom. They will turn me into a weapon." Cain met her gaze, his eyes steady. "You are not a weapon. You are not theirs. And I will not let them touch you." A loud metallic cry cut through the night. The hunter commander stepped forward, its tall body glowing with red lines. It raised a signal spear toward the tower, and the air crackled with electric force. The walls trembled again, dust falling from cracks. Cain looked at the princess. "Hold on, we are getting out of here," but she shook her head weakly. "They have sealed every path. Their scanners. They are everywhere." Cain listened to the rumbling beneath his feet. Then he remembered something. The old war tunnels beneath the ruins, long forgotten, but still real. Maybe still stable. He grabbed the princess and pulled her toward the back of the tower where debris had piled over an old floor plate he kicked away. Broken stones until a small metal hatch appeared covered with dust. Her eyes widened. "You know the tunnels?" Cain nodded. "I studied maps during training. They are old, but if we are lucky, they are still open." He lifted the hatch. A deep, dark tunnel yawned beneath them, cold air rising from its throat. The princess hesitated, her glowing hand reaching into the darkness. "It is cold down there," she whispered. "Something ancient sleeps in these tunnels." Cain swallowed his fear. Old stories told of creatures sealed underground during the early wars. Beasts that only royalty could command. He looked at her. "We have no choice. If we stay here, they will kill us both." He lifted her and began to climb down the ladder. The tunnel walls were damp, cracked with age. The air was heavy, like it held memories of forgotten battles above them. The hunters smashed into the tower. The noise echoed down the tunnel like a warning. Cain kept moving deeper. Carrying the princess close, her head rested on his shoulder, her energy dimming again. The faint light around her cast soft silver shapes along the tunnel walls. She whispered directions, her voice weak and trembling. "Behind the old royal chambers," she said, "there is a passage that leads outside the ruins." Cain followed her words carefully. He moved through the dark tunnels, stepping over old wires and sharp stones. The ground shook again. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The hunters were breaking through, layer after layer. Cain's heart pounded. He pushed forward faster, but the deeper they went, the colder the air became. The tunnel walls seemed to whisper, like something watched from the shadows. The princess trembled against him. Cain felt her fear. "What is it?" he asked, quietly. Her voice was barely a breath. "Old guardians," she said. "Creatures that protected the royal bloodline. They wake only when they sense danger or ancient power." Cain's arm glowed softly again, responding to her energy. The light moved across the tunnel walls like a signal. The ground beneath them began to rumble. A low growl rose from the darkness ahead, a sound older than any machine, older than any hunter. Cain held the princess tighter. "Stay behind me." A huge shape moved from the shadows, a creature covered in stone plates, its eyes glowing blue like ancient fire. It filled the tunnel, almost completely towering. Over them, it sniffed the air, then lowered its head, examining the princess with slow, heavy breaths. She whispered one word. "Guardian." The creature bowed its massive head, as if recognizing her crest. Even in its broken state, Cain watched, stunned. Then the guardian shifted its glowing eyes to him, studying the strange energy in his arm. Its deep voice rolled through the tunnel like thunder. "You carry the royal spark, yet you are human. Why?" Cain did not know how to answer, but the princess spoke first. "He saved me. He carries my power because he touched it when I was dying." The guardian stared for a long moment. "The royal bond has formed it. Said if one falls, the other falls." Cain felt those words like a weight on his chest. He looked at the princess. She looked back at him with fear and trust mixed together. The guardian turned its giant body, blocking the path behind them, as hunters began forcing their way down the tunnel. The creature roared, shaking the earth. Its stone body expanded, forming a wall. "Go," it commanded. "I will hold them." Cain ran forward, carrying the princess deeper into the tunnel. The roar of the guardian echoed behind them. The hunters screamed orders. The walls shook. The princess looked up at Cain, her eyes glowing softly. "They will not stop," she said, but her voice held something new. Hope. Cain held her close as he ran through darkness, through danger, through ancient stone. And for the first time since the chase began, they had a real chance to survive. Cain ran through the cold tunnel, while the princess clung to him, her breath shaking in the dark. The roar of the stone guardian echoed behind them, each roar shaking loose dust from the ceiling. The hunters fought to push through its massive body, but the creature held firm. Its stone plates grinding like mountains, moving against each other. The deeper Cain went, the colder and older. The air felt. It smelled like forgotten history, like old battles and lost kings. The princess touched the tunnel wall with trembling fingers. "These tunnels were built by my ancestors," she whispered. "Royal safe paths, only used in the darkest moments. Only those with true blood were meant to survive down here." Cain kept moving, his steps steady, even as the ground trembled from the battle behind. They followed the tunnel until it widened into a huge underground hall. The ceiling stretched high above them, like the inside of a mountain. Ancient symbols glowed faint on the walls, written in a language older than the kingdom itself. The princess stared wide-eyed. "These symbols respond to my power. They should not be glowing, yet they are." Cain lifted his glowing arm. The strange energy inside him reacted to the symbols to making them shine brighter. He looked at her. I think the power connected us more than either of us knew. She nodded. Slowly confusion and fear mixed in her eyes. Royal energy should destroy humans, she said softly. But you hold it, your body accepted it. How he shook his head, I do not know. But whatever it is, it helped us survive. Suddenly the hall trembled again. The rumble came from the entrance where the guardian continued its fight. The princess closed her eyes, feeling the vibrations through the floor. The guardian is disease. Weakening, she whispered. The hunters are using break spears to crack its armor. Cain placed her gently on a stone ledge. Stay here, I will check ahead. He stepped deeper into the hall and saw an ancient doorway. Covered with thick roots and old markings, he touched the door, and the symbols under his hand lit up with soft silver light. The door shifted open with a slow, heavy groan, revealing another passage. She looked at him with surprise. Only royalty can open these doors. How did you? Before Cain could answer, the ground behind them shook violently. A loud cracking sound echoed through the tunnel. The guardian roared in pain. The hunters had broken part of its armor. The princess gasped. No, they are too strong. Cain grabbed her hand. Come on, we need to move. They rushed through the doorway into a long tunnel filled with blue crystals that glowed like frozen stars. The light reflected across the walls, making the whole path look alive. The princess touched a crystal gently. These carry old mana. Only royal blood can awaken them. She looked at Cain again with disbelief. And yet they wake when you pass. Cain looked at his glowing arm. There must be something more to this bond than energy. Maybe your power chose me. Before she could respond, a deep boom echoed behind them. The guardian's final roar shook the entire underground hall. Then came silence. A cold, heavy silence. The princess's face went pale. Cain, the guardian has fallen. The hunters will come through now. Cain tightened his grip on her hand. They will not reach us before we find an exit. Come on, they hurried. Deeper into the crystal tunnel. The lights grew brighter with every step, as if guiding them forward. Then the tunnel suddenly opened into a massive underground chamber. At its center stood a giant stone throne, cracked. An ancient, a second guardian, far larger than the first, sat on it asleep. Its body covered in thick layers of dust. The princess froze. That is the high guardian. It only wakes for the direct heir to the throne. No one else. Cain felt a chill run down his spine as the old creature's stone eyelids slowly opened. Blue fire glowed from beneath them. It turned its massive head toward the princess, then toward him. The chamber filled with its deep, ancient voice. Who carries the royal spark? The princess stepped forward, her voice trembling. I do, guardian. I carry the blood of the true line. The high guardian stared at her crest, cracked and dim. Then its gaze shifted to Cain, studying the light in his arm. You are bonded to her. You hold her power within you. Humans should not survive this, yet you have. Cain swallowed, struggling to stand under the creature's pressure. I do not understand why. But I will protect her no matter what. The guardian's eyes glowed brighter. Protection is not a choice for you. It is fate. The royal bond is ancient. If she falls, you fall. If she rise, you rise. This is the law of the spark. The princess trembled, hearing those words. Cain looked at her, a strange calm in his eyes. Then I rise with her, he said. The guardian nodded slowly. You will need strength for what comes next. A distant echo of metal boots thundered through the tunnels. The hunters were close. The high guardian rose from its throne, shaking dust from its ancient armor. Its voice shook the chamber. I will face them. You must reach the exit before they arrive. The princess took Cain's hand, her voice urgent. The exit is near. Come, we must hurry. Cain looked back as the enormous guardian stepped forward, stone plates grinding like shifting mountains. The hunters had no idea what waited for them. He turned toward the princess, and together they ran into the final passage for the first time since their escape began. They ran not in fear, but toward a future that was finally starting to open before them. Cain and the princess ran through the final passage, the ancient crystal light guiding their steps. The echo of the High Guardian's roars vibrated through the tunnel. Shaking dust loose from the ceiling, heavy footsteps of the hunters followed close behind their metallic cries. Bouncing off the stone walls, Cain tightened his grip on the princess's hand, feeling her trembling. But seeing determination shining in her glowing eyes, the tunnel bent sharply, opening into a high chamber with a wide, broken archway leading toward the outside. A cold night sky shone through the cracked opening. The stars looked sharp and bright, like 1,000 watchful eyes. The princess breathed in sharply. "This is the outer gate. If we reach the other side, we escape the ruins." Cain scanned the open ground. Beyond, rubble, cliffs, and broken pillars scattered everywhere. But before he could take a step forward, the tunnel behind them erupted with violent shaking. The High Guardian roared in pain. The hunters were forcing their way past it. They were coming fast. "We do not have time," the princess said, her voice uneven. "Cain, we must run." Cain pulled her forward. But the moment they reached the archway, a group of hunters dropped from the cliffs outside, landing in front of them. Their red-lined armor glowed in the dark, their weapons humming with deadly power. Cain stepped in front of the princess, shielding her. The hunters aimed their spears and blades toward them. "Give us the princess," one hunter growled. "She is the property of the royal council. She must be purged." Cain's jaw tightened. "She belongs to no one, not even you." The hunters moved closer, their cold helmets reflecting the silver light of the princess. "They are too many," she whispered. "Cain, go, leave me, save yourself." Cain turned sharply to her, his voice firm. "Never again say that. We escape together, or not at all." Before she could answer, the ground behind them exploded. The High Guardian burst into the chamber, crashing through stone, its giant body cracked but still mighty. It roared with ancient fury, throwing two hunters aside with a single sweep. The hunters screamed commands and charged forward. Their weapons clashed against the Guardian's stone armor, sending sparks into the air. Cain pulled the princess toward the exit, but more hunters appeared from the shadows, their numbers growing like a flood. She stumbled. Cain caught her and lifted her into his arms again. Her glow flickered weakly. Cain felt the royal energy inside him, pulsing faster, like it sensed the danger surrounding them. The warmth spread through his chest, down his legs, up his spine. It felt like a heartbeat, not his own. He set the princess down gently and placed both hands on the ground. He closed his eyes, feeling the energy rise. The princess watched with wide eyes. "Cain, you are glowing brighter than before. How is this possible?" He did not answer. He could not. The energy inside him surged outward, forming faint silver marks on the ground. Like lines starting to awaken, the hunter saw the marks and hesitated. Their steps faltered. Their voices shifted from confidence to alarm. "He carries the spark," one whispered. "It is merging with him." The High Guardian roared again, falling to one knee. Its voice shook the room. "Go, princess. Go now, before it is too late." But the princess shook her head, stepping forward even though her body trembled. "I will not leave without him. I refuse." She placed her hand on Cain's shoulder, and the energy between them merged like two rivers, becoming one. The ground beneath them lit with ancient symbols. The air shimmered like heat waves. The hunters backed away in fear, unsure of what was waking. Then it happened. A wave of silver light burst outward, a shock without sound, a force without wind. The hunters were thrown back, their weapons ripped from their hands. The ground cracked under their feet. The cliffs split apart. Cain gasped as the energy settled his glowing arms, slowly dimming. The princess fell forward. Cain caught her. She looked up, weak but alive. "Cain, we did it." But new hunters appeared at the top of the cliffs, dozens of them, aiming heavy cannons. The High Guardian struggled to rise, but its body was breaking. Cain and the princess stood in the open, the starry sky above them, the enemy closing in. Cain held the princess close, her eyes lifted to him, soft and full of trust. "Whatever happens, I am glad you followed my voice," she whispered. Cain looked at her with calm strength. "And I will follow it again and again." The hunters fired their cannons. A bright blast raced toward them. The princess lifted her trembling hand. Cain held his glowing arm beside hers. Their energies merged once more. and a massive dome of silver light erupted around them. The blast hit the shield and bent around it, sending shockwaves across the ruins. When the light faded, the hunters lowered their weapons in disbelief. The princess stepped forward, supported by Cain. She faced the enemy with a power that no longer frightened her. "My life is my own," she said, her voice steady. "I choose my path, and this human walks beside me." The hunters looked at each other, uncertain. Their commands were broken, their courage cracked. The High Guardian rose behind Cain, towering even in its damaged state, and growled a final warning. "If you pursue them again, I will rise even from rubble." The hunters retreated step by step, fading into the darkness like shadows losing shape. Cain wrapped an arm around the princess. The night felt quiet again. The stars bright, the wind gentle. The princess leaned her head against his shoulder, her voice soft. "Where will we go now?" Cain smiled a tired, warm smile. "Anywhere you want, princess. Anywhere your heart chooses." She squeezed his hand gently. "Then my path is with you, Cain." Together they walked away from the ruins, leaving behind the hunters, the broken kingdom, and the life that tried to end her. Ahead of them was a new beginning carved from courage, trust, and a bond that should have been impossible but became unbreakable.